skip to this timestamp if you want to see where to hold out for gold medals, this timestamp if you want your 30-minute achievement, and this timestamp if you're looking for the golden crowbars. Until then, we'll be going over the survival game mode as a whole and its core theories. The survival game mode is a significant change of pace compared to the campaign and versus game modes, featuring an endless bombardment of common and special infected. Players who play survival are given a set area and utilities to work with in an attempt to survive for as long as possible. The other game modes in Left 4 Dead, on average, are more efficient the quicker you move, resulting in less infected spawns. In a sense, you could say that campaign and versus are a sprint, while survival is a marathon. Since defeat is inevitable in survival, it becomes about operating on the highest level you can dig into for as long as you can. After years of being a campaign player, I decided to grind out all the gold medals and was surprised with how much fun I was having, kicking myself a little bit for not trying it earlier. But better late than never, I suppose. In this video, we'll be going over the survival game mode, what you have to adjust to as a campaign player, and then go over the strategies we used for each map. Survival to its core, I believe, is a bit of a puzzle. You are given your designated area and materials and no further instructions beyond that. You press a button to initiate the event and then hold out for as long as you can. So execution is one thing, but the other part is figuring out what the best location and systems would be. But since I'm 15 years late to the party, it turns out that the Goldminers have already solved this puzzle with their guide featuring breakdowns on each map, ranging from where to stand, what to prioritize, and exactly how much of each spawn exists. So getting gold medals on every map was mostly easy. It didn't take long to realize that the gold medals are just a goal to get you into the game mode. The real fun is seeing just how far you can go on the highest possible gear. You see, when you play a campaign, the game will naturally pick up and slow down in pace by design. It's like when you hop onto a treadmill and hit the random button. But survival just goes. It will ramp up to a certain level and then stay there. These clutch, high-pressure moments that can be a one-off in a campaign is the average survival experience, and therein lies why it still has an active community to this day. In fact, it is not just survival holdouts with teams of 4 that are popular. As the times got longer and longer, people began looking for alternative ways to chase the same highs of survival, but without the time commitment. At the time of recording, the shortest world record is the Sacrifice Port with 161 minutes, or 2 hours 41, and the longest is the Parish Bridge with 524 minutes, which is 8 hours and 44. This gave birth to trios, duos, and singles runs, with people pushing the maps to their absolute limits, finding the most creative ways to position and squeeze out advantages. We will discuss more about that in a bit. There are some small differences in how the special infected behave, however. Primarily, when hunters and jockeys hop on a survivor, they will push back surrounding survivors and stumble them for a good 1.5 to 2 seconds. This may seem like an arbitrary change, but it does make sense. The first reason is that the average damage in survival is low. All the infected are dealing damage to you as if it's the normal difficulty, and since a lot of survival is closely holding out together, pushing nearby teammates upon pounce or leap is one of the only reliable ways that these two infected can properly threaten coordinated teams to some degree. The second is tank punches can hit more than one survivor, and it's certainly an answer to those stacked in corners. Another unique wrinkle is that you can have duplicate special infected, whereas campaign will only have a maximum of 3 special infected with no overlap. Survival can place 8 special infected with things like tandem hunters, smokers, you name it. A significant adjustment going into survival is that you are now the defender, not the aggressor. Survival is an inherently reactive game mode where if you are pushing forward, it's within the context of earning back your ideal holdout location, and as such is often quite punishing if you try too hard to kill incoming infected. The golden example of this is the Hard Rain gas station holdout, where all you need to do is stay behind the barrier on the roof, but oftentimes you may find yourself able to get more kills if you peek over the ledge. But this results in a smoker pull off the ledge, causing a significant sequence of struggle to regroup back onto the roof. By not sticking to the ideal reactive approach, pushing up beyond your ideal holdout zone, you are detrimenting your run. Whereas in campaign, pushing back against a horde comes with significantly less risk, since there are a lot less special infected, and you know that the horde will die eventually. And even if the idea is you move forward and then stop to be reactive to an incoming horde, you can at least still have the option to move up to a more aggressive position viably. Unless it's Gauntlet, of course, but that's a different topic. So the idea with survival is you've got your ideal holdout location, great lines of sight, good range, and also some degree of flexibility so you can fall back if things get too intense. But once you're able to breathe again, once the bulk of the threat is dealt with, you can push back to your ideal starting location, just not any further. Aside from ammo, resources are limited in survival, so how frequently you will want to use them will depend on your goals. The most obvious example is gas cans. In the majority of holdouts, you will have enough gas cans to do 1 gas can per tank before the 10-minute mark. So if you're just trying to get the gold medal, then that's what you will do. But if you're going to go for a world record run, then the idea would be to use your gas cans only in times when you feel like you need to alleviate the pressure for one reason or another. For a 30-minute run, you might save your gas cans for the earlier double tanks, and then start to use your remainders for the 25-minute mark onwards for when your team has taken some hits and could use the extra help for the final stretch. It's ultimately up to how your team is going at each step, but especially if you're just starting off in survival, you'll learn eventually that since survival's intensity mostly peaks around the 12-minute mark and starts to become especially suffocating at the 20-minute mark, that achieving 30 minutes is usually within a mindset closer to that of a world record holders than those just aiming for golds. It is also when you go into your longer runs that you need to understand more of the nuances of the map you are playing on. For example, League of the Goldminers, a multiple world record holder, recently uploaded a video showcasing highlights from an hour-long run of just scouts in the mall atrium. And you can see a big piece of this puzzle was finding out how to work around the drawback that scouts have very low consistent damage output. So for tanks, they were able to draw them around here to nullify their damage threat, abusing their pathing flaws to achieve their feat. This is a consistent theme a lot of world record holders do, and how to make certain runs feasible in trios, duos, and solos. To try to condense survival down to its core fundamental theory, I'm going to use the phrase staying at 100. When your team is at 100 or 100%, everyone is as healthy as can be, in the ideal positions, has all the ammo, and is able to fulfill their roles cleanly. Teams at 100 can take down tanks without the use of fire, even with everything else going on. Some people also use different terms for this. JR, who is a real expert at survival, refers to it as maintaining tempo, but the overall idea is the same. The team is maximizing their damage output and minimizing damage taken when they are at 100%. The best spots to hold out in are the spots that people have found to enable you to do those two things. From there, it's not just a matter of killing what's in front of you, but ensuring your team's overall combined damage output is maximized. So, as the saying goes, just hold M1. That's it. That's all there is to it, bro. Just hold down your mouse button. Inevitably, someone may make a mistake or be inconvenienced by a well-timed special infected, requiring the team to compensate, bail them out, double up on tasks in the meantime, etc. Sometimes someone gets pulled down and has to make their way back up. So everyone has to shift from not just fulfilling their role, but also doubling up on covering each other's roles to some degree to help that player get back up. For instance, one player goes down, your entire team's damage output just got reduced by 25%, and now everyone is compensating to make up for it during that downtime. This is often the opportune time to be using your throwables. I've found that in basically the majority of the rounds that I've failed, when not getting punched off a ledge or something, what eventually got to us was not being able to pull off the recovery. Something that ended up being our final nail in the coffin would actually be something that happened 2 minutes before we actually got downed. But that 2 minutes could be the difference between 8 and 10 minutes or 28 and 30, for example, so you just gotta keep fighting until the very end. What this looks like depends on the map and holdout strategy, but effectively, during times where your team needs to quickly recover while still fighting a wave, it is not at 100. So during these times, your team needs to dig deeper and fight to get from 80 back to 100, for example. I hope this makes sense because I'm not going to elaborate much further on it. Teams that are setting world records and breaking those 30-minute marks are operating at 100 for very long stretches of time, and if for whatever reason they are not at 100, they are consistent at getting back on track. You will come to quickly find that team coordination is pretty important for your runs. As such, there are callouts that should be pretty routine. If nothing else, you should call out when a tank dies, and you should call out if you're going to improvise a throwable or do some sort of health or ammo run. Another thing to consider is that, especially from around minute 13 onwards, the game has just ramped up to a point where there is basically no breathing room at all. So operating at 100 from that point onwards can be quite the endurance test because we're all human. We still need to do things like eat food, drink water, and the more mentally tired we get, the more fuel we need. We're inevitably going to start slipping up to some degree. And just touching on tanks for a quick second again, remember the numbers are more or less balanced to be the normal difficulty. Tanks, despite their intimidating presence, can still go down quite easily in survival. They've only got about 4,000 health, half of what the expert campaign tanks have, and that's the equivalent to just under 2 full AK-47 mags, about 3 M16 mags, 1.5 military sniper mags. There's probably more exact math that's out there, but just know that in most cases, if 2 people mag dump a tank, that tank is usually dead. If all 4 people mag dump a tank, it's dead. This is a very quick amount of time that a tank can pop up and instantly be shut down, and that's why a team at 100 can put down a tank without fire. This was theory that I came up with just for my gold medal runs, but the Goldminers Steam Guide has even more specifics that will help you along the way. I'm going to borrow their resource here for the remaining core information I believe you should know. There's some core times to be aware of, especially if you are just going for the 10-minute runs. These are where the lulls are and when the tanks spawn. A lull is not something that is funny. A lull is simply when something isn't spawning for a second, so you've got some time to breathe. The lulls are at 1:30, 2:30, 4, 6, and 9. Nice. Beyond 10 minutes, they are at 12, 14:30, 16:50. But as the Goldminers guide points out, even from the 12-minute point onwards, there's already such a consistent flow of things going on that you may not even realize that the infected have stopped spawning for a second. This is partially because when a survival horde spawns, it spawns 50 infected. But the game can only have 30 commons on the map at any time. So it's 30 up front and then an additional 20 later on. Things can stop spawning, but you don't even realize because there's still fighting to be done. The other thing to consider is when tanks spawn, and especially when the double tanks spawn. Before 10 minutes, the tanks are spawning at 40 seconds, 155, 255, 425, 525, and 535. This is your double tank spawn. 7, 740, 820. And then after the 10-minute mark, you can see that the tanks spawn much more frequently. The Goldminer Steam Guide has a much more in-depth breakdown of this, specifically when hordes and special infected spawn, which will be relevant if you're going to be an avid survival player. But you can even see how the special infected will start to respawn in much faster intervals as well. But ultimately, you can just safely assume that there's always going to be common and special infected. So just as long as you know that there are some breaks along the way, and 9 tanks before the 10-minute mark, that should hopefully be all the information you need in the gold medal department. For other special infected tips, if a jockey pounces on you, you can spin around really fast to drastically slow down, if not outright cancel the direction that they're moving you in. Personally, do consider this an exploit, but it's in the game, and what am I going to do? Call the cops? Hello, police? There's a man on the internet spinning around with a jockey. Can you track him down? The full duration of a spitter's spit does 81 damage, and so long as you're hanging over a ledge, they can spit underneath you and not where you're standing. All common infected and tanks will aggro towards those hit by boomer bile. Jumping during a boomer death can nullify the knockback. YouTube videos and their creators do better in the platform's algorithm if the viewer likes, subscribes, comments. The tank rock has 50 health and can't be shot down instantly from midair, just gotta let it travel for a tiny bit first. The smoker tongue has 100 health, along with other tips like using geometry to block the tongue, or canceling the tongue with sharp melee weapons, or dropping objects like gas cans. On the topic of specials, a more nuanced thing is that which special infected you should be prioritizing is dependent on the map you're playing and where you're holding out. For example, if you're holding out on a high roof, you're going to care a little bit more about chargers than a map where if you're more on the ground, if that charger is threatening to charge you off a cliff and insta-down you. The Goldminers Guide usually explains which special infected you should be prioritizing for each holdout. If you've watched my health economy video, you'll know that there's some general rules and guidelines in Left 4 Dead's health economy, but ultimately it just kind of depends on the exact moment you're in. In campaign, you may feel it's better to use your pills over your health kit in most situations. But in survival, you learn that it might be better to prioritize health kits first because it's only going to get more suffocating the later in you go, and the channel time it takes to heal can be the difference between life and death for you or a teammate. As such, we found that for our gold medal runs that it's best to just use first aid kits first because later on, being able to pop the pills instantly is more helpful than the long channel time of the med kit. But if you are able to save your med kits for later, then that's rarely ever a bad thing. There is usually never one simple answer to a lot of healing scenarios. There is usually some sort of trade-off of instant versus later on, but an important health benchmark is of course the 40 health, because anything lower than that and you lose your maximum movement speed. 24 health and below, however, means that any tank hit will down you, so that's an important one to be conscious of as well. When I asked JR for his input on this survival video, I like what he added to this topic specifically, and I'll quote him. "I like to view the team's health as a single shared quantity. Survival is a team game. Your team's HP is your HP. Play in a way that prevents damage to other teammates and yourself. Kill tanks if it's chasing them, clear commons for them, and clear specials for them. When teammates start to have yellow health, he begins to consider what can happen if the team loses tempo." So we've discussed the bulk of survival's theory, but before we look at the individual areas, I'm going to quickly discuss lapping and the other formats. Lapping is what it sounds like. It is when you are simply just doing laps around the area instead of holding out. This is a strategy that only works for specific maps, not all of them, and the idea takes advantage of the fact that only so many infected can be active on the map at any time. With some exceptions like the smoker, spitter, and boomer, and case dependent a tank, every infected can theoretically catch up to you in a straight line, but will often use pathing to cut you off. But in a lot of maps, if you're running at full speed and doing laps around the perimeter, then the infected trying to cut you off will get stuck on geometry and then have to run or climb around those, resulting in a situation where all the infected cannot really consistently get to you. They're getting cut off by geometry trying to cut you off, and since you aren't killing them, other infected can't spawn in to flank you proper. Lapping is a viable strategy on some maps and sometimes is something you can resort to squeeze out some extra minutes if your prior holdout started to crumble. As for trios, duos, and solos, I'll just take what League typed to me when he read this video script. As we mentioned, these offsets of survival runs exist because people were looking for ways to capture the highs and rush of survival, but without the time investment, as every map has been cracked at 100 minutes, and that's just the harder maps. Trios are the least popular category. It has the same overall feeling as full team, but harder due to having one less player, requiring each player to carry that much more weight. Maps generally play very similarly, resulting in only top players who are looking for an extra challenge playing trios. There isn't really much in terms of competition compared to other categories, but trios still have a few players that enjoy them. Solos holds a high prestige in the survival community. While getting gold means almost nothing in a full team to the dedicated survivalists, it is very impressive in solos. One small mistake means the end of your round, just a small timing error or something simple like a smoker cut or a shove, and it's all over. Solos requires playing perfectly as well as both luck and determination. You could play perfectly, but a single silent infected or bug catching you off guard ends the round. The game is old and has many bugs, so even not making a mistake isn't enough to get gold sometimes. Solo players tend to play many rounds until they get that perfect game where everything comes together, no round-ending bugs, and playing to complete perfection. There are a few players in the community who have managed to get all of the gold medals solo. Duos consist of only 2 survivors. It is the middle ground of all the categories. It requires you to play with complete perfection like solos, while still having a single lifeline if you get grabbed. With only having 2 players, duos feels very different. It's a mixture of being independent and playing around your teammate. Players put themselves in a position to always cover themselves and not get grabbed anyways, but in the small chance you make a mistake, you still have a teammate to save you. League's favorite part of Left 4 Dead 2 is the team aspect, so it is no surprise that duo is his favorite category. It has such a high skill ceiling, while at the same time the round doesn't instantly end with a single bug or mistake. The new milestone for duos is 13 minutes, as that's when the constant double tanks start to spawn. It doesn't affect lapping maps much, but for holding maps, this is when the real round starts. Most holding strategies aren't possible long term with only 2 players, resulting in most maps becoming lap maps. Some maps, whether due to size or layout, don't have defined lap strategies, so like the waterfront, the warehouse, the generator room, the train car. Those rounds are generally shorter, usually anywhere from 15 to 35 minutes most of the time, with lap maps being a bit longer than that. The summary of these 10-minute holdouts is to bring all the gas cans to your holdout area. That holdout area is usually on top of a spawn of an assault rifle or military sniper. From there, you just utilize the long range these weapons help you with, using the spawn as your infinite ammo source and reload animation skipping. It's also possible and never a bad idea to juggle throwables or health items over as well if you want to. If the map has laser sights, you can use that to juggle individual one-off weapons over as well. Technically, the gas cans and weapon spawns is all you'll really need. Someone should always have a bile jar with them because they're too good at resetting if things get too hairy. Great in case of emergency. Alright, let's look at the locations now. For the Dead Center store, we spent a lot of time juggling items to the front, which wasn't the most necessary thing, but it never hurts. Ultimately, holding out in the store means you can focus a lot of fire on the main entrance, and when tanks spawn, a single fire source will ignite them, and also block off the front entrance, so commons can't bug you while you kite the tank around. Ultimately, just be wary of smokers and jockeys, because they can and will bring you into your own fire source if you don't respect them. The Goldminers Survival Guide also recommends everyone just hang out behind this counter here with the M16 spawn and using the same idea, abusing the fact that they all come from one way. The Mall Atrium is a map that can be lapped around, but what ended up getting us to 10 minutes is bringing the gas cans up to this top floor. Majority of the infected will come from one angle, so focusing 4 in one area is easy, but some can come from behind, so just occasionally looking behind will help. The real test will come when a tank decides to flank from behind, but leaving a gas can there preemptively will start you off on the right foot. There is a nearby ammo spawn not far, which Goldminers recommends as a decent holdout as well. If things get too dicey, you can always jump down the hole in the floor and do a lap or so to sort of reset before getting back up top. For the riverbank, we ended up just holding out at the ammo spawn in the gazebo, kiting back and forth either way when required. Be careful that there isn't any one particularly good holdout place for all the gas cans. Bedlam is a classic military sniper holdout. Grab your military sniper and then run back all the way to this corner of the map where the infected will only come from one direction. Spam the military snipers and use the nearby ammo pile when needed. It's also possible to jump up onto the orange fence for an even cheekier high ground advantage. For the passing finale, otherwise known as the port, any combination of auto snipers and assault rifles are fine, I think, then just holding out in front of the bridge while using the nearby ammo spawn to replenish should you need. For the Dark Carnival Motel, with the help of laser sights, we just juggled a ton of things back to this corner and then mainly used military snipers to just shoot everything in front of us. Also, it was around here that League from the Goldminers joined us for the first time, and then we were just sitting in awe at that 261-minute record. Just another day in the office for him, I suppose. The stadium gate is funny because you actually do not hold out anywhere near the gate. In survival, they modify the maps to some degree here or there. What is normally a one-way drop is now something that you can climb back up, and from here it's holding out at the furthest possible barn. You stack your inventories with AK-47s, and then you use the nearby ammo spawn when needed. For the Dark Carnival concert, we held out on the stage. You can pick any weapon you want, really, and there's an ammo spawn and laser sights on the stage, so a lot of flexibility is afforded to you. This is one of the harder ones, though. In the final moments of this one, we just got it because Saints and Enigma clutched out with a big lap to bring us across the 10-minute mark. For Swamp Fever Gator Town, you just have to survive for a couple of minutes or so until a little ferry boat thing arrives. Once it does, you'll have a ton of weapons and items, and it just becomes spamming the military sniper spawn for the entire duration. So for Shantytown, we were a bit spread out actually. We followed this visual from the Goldminers guide. They not only break down where each person should stand, but also what their role should be. So we followed that where we were spread out a bit, but we also had to use communication a fair bit. An alternative would be to stack 4 people in this back corner on top of the auto sniper spawn. For Swamp Fever's Plantation holdout, which has burned down IRL by the way, but it was a standard 2-2 holdout akin to what you'll see in a normal Swamp Fever campaign game. The people on the stairs used military snipers and deagles, and the people upstairs used auto shotguns and deagles. For everyone involved, they should be primarily using their deagle and only switching to their primary for things like tanks and chargers, or really just any time it's getting too crazy. There is a somewhat nearby ammo spawn, but you'll need to run to get there, so that could be done during natural lulls, or as a dedicated group run with the map's single bile jar. Hard Rain Burger Tank is a bit of a rough one because there's really only one possible area to hold out in, and if a tank punches you off it, well, good luck. But yes, it ultimately revolves around 3 people using the military sniper and 1 person switching between the M16 and shotgun depending on what's going on. That's what the Goldminers guide says though. For us, I don't think we were really that coordinated or specific with our weapons. A gas can per tank, hopefully there's like 19 of them. For the sugar mill, we juggled items back to this corner over here and we're spread out around this little loading area. There's already an ammo and weapon spawn area there, but it doesn't hurt to bring some more things back, I suppose. A lot of infected come from the right side, but you'll get some flanks from the left side as well. You can somewhat lap around this holdout to squeeze out a final minute or so by climbing up this nearby ladder and traversing the upper platforms. This was definitely one of the trickier ones for sure though, in my opinion. The cane field, as we mentioned, is held out from on top of the convenience store roof. From here, we were spreading out looking down different paths that infected like to climb up. We struggled a bit until we realized the core piece of the puzzle was to kite tanks around the satellite dish. It made all the difference. It's also better to force the smokers to have to try to climb up onto the roof instead of just letting the smokers get some free pulls on you. We were very happy during the parish waterfront. To be honest, I'm not sure if this is where a holdout location for this map should have been located, but it is what it is. The map is a big L shape and you can pick a side. The Goldminers show that you can hold out in this far back corner closer to the military sniper spawn. The strategy is straightforward. We ended up holding out on the other side near the M16 spawn, just creeping forward to the ammo spawn on the bus when needed. For the bus depot, it's just holding out on top of the scaffolding with the military sniper spawn. That's really about it, just playing it out as if it were campaign, but for a longer time. Cemetery is a bit of a meme, but ultimately, while I think it can be lapped, you just come back here to the collapsed highway and use the nearby M16 spawn to hold down both of these long choke points. Just hold M1. For the parish float, you just gotta wait for the float to move forwards, and then you can use it to jump across to the AK-47 spawn and then do your thing from there. Just really be careful not to get pulled by smokers. Alright, you want your 30-minute holdout? Here you go. On the parish bridge, take your gas cans up here, up the ladder, to this M16 spawn, and that's it. Congratulations, you just hold down M1 for 30 minutes. It's very good gameplay. For the Coldstream Junkyard holdout, it's possible to hold up on the bridge, but we ended up holding out within the junkyard itself. This was a trickier one, but ultimately it boiled down to bringing all the gas cans to this little booth here and throwing them out one by one at the main choke point by the arch of the bridge. People were a bit spread out here. There was even this little trickier jump here that one of us had to do on the fence, and the ammo spawn was back here. M16s all around as there's no auto sniper or AK. For the Coldstream Waterworks, there is a hunting rifle spawn at the very top of the radio tower, and this is effectively where all of us held out. But there is also an auto shotgun spawn at the top of the stairs, and that was used a fair bit to cover the stairs. When tanks found their way up to the top, it was a matter of looping them around the radio tower, hoping that they wouldn't try to climb up to where the snipers were. Now for Generator Room, we're now looking at Left 4 Dead 1 maps, and man, they were just pretty easy. For the Generator Room, you just wait until this door opens up, and then you go up the stairs, and you just kind of spread out around this back area, honestly. For the No Mercy gas station, it's just a matter of going up the scissor lift and then holding out on the roof. If you stand here, then the commons can't really jump up from this flank at all. Everyone was using military snipers, and there is an ammo spawn off by the hole in the floor. For the hospital, you come to this main room that people usually default to in campaign and use the assault rifle spawn to focus down the one hallway. For the rooftop, we followed this configuration from the Goldminers, the whole A here, B here, etc. I was the D player, which was positioned here, so I didn't really see a whole lot of what the other guys were doing, but we were all just using AKs across these 3 positions. For Crash Course Bridge, we just use the same holdout that usually happens in campaign, with all of us stacking up on top of the shelf here with AK-47s. But Goldminers also have a suggestion for using the military sniper spawn back here, which definitely looks like it would work because it's leveraging long range and they can't flank you from behind. The Crash Course Truck Depot was pretty difficult actually. Viewers of my Crash Course video know how I feel about this area. No one specific area that isn't sketchy in some way or another, but ultimately we used the minigun holdout up here, and it seems like that was intended more or less. There are bars blocking this whole back flank here as well as an AK-47 spawn. You just gotta try your best to make sure that the tanks don't get up top to where you are, and you gotta be on top of the spitters. The drains was an easier one. Once the bridge lowers, it's kind of just running around the bridge, just making sure you don't fall down. There's an assault rifle spawn to use and long angles to focus fire down. The church is a very straightforward one. Bring all the gas cans to the ambulance, grab a military sniper or AK, and then use the ammo piles to replenish yourself. One of the easier ones for sure. For the Death Toll Street, you run forwards for a bit to this assault rifle spawn over here, and that's really about it. This fence in the alley really helps the situation. For the Death Toll Boathouse, just bring what you need over to the dock and use a combination of either this military sniper spawn or ammo spawn to keep yourself replenished, easy peasy. Just really be on top of those chargers. The last thing you want to do is get insta-killed by them. The Dead Air Crane was legitimately pretty hard. First, you have to wait for the dumpster to lower, and then you can access the other roofs in the area. JR was on this vent over here baiting, and that got us some time. I was perched up on this highest platform over here. Amari and Flame were on the platform below watching windows and just generally around the other areas. Legitimately, I got lucky here. I got punched off the roof at the 7-minute mark, but a huge performance from everyone. JR especially just clutched it out for me. I don't think I deserved this one, but we take those. This one's legitimately hard. Definitely read up what the Goldminers guide has to say about it. Dead Air construction site. The AK-47 and SCAR spawns up here, so that tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Holding out and protecting this main platform is about all this boils down to, as they mainly come from the area you're seeing on your screen now. There is a military sniper spawn down there though, but refreshing its ammo would require a run or jumping down with great timing. The terminal strategy is really straightforward. After the van crashes through, juggle your gas cans down towards where it crashed. There is a SPA shotgun spawn and ammo. 3 assault rifles will focus the main area on the high ground and make ammo runs when necessary. The shotgun user will play in front and aggro tanks onto them and lead them away from the other 3. During tank fights or if things get dicey, one single Molotov will cut off everything in that one choke. For the Dead Air runway, it's just about hanging out in this back corner here where there are AK-47 and military sniper spawns and ammo, and this back closet where you can put all your gas cans, and you can put laser sights on what you'd like beforehand. They'll ultimately come from 2 directions, and snipers can work, but AK-47s were recommended. In the Blood Harvest warehouse, when you open the door, there's a bit of running to do, but once you make it down here, there's an assault rifle spawn, and they'll only technically come from one way, making it easy to focus fire down onto. For the Blood Harvest bridge, it's just a matter of coming back to this train car in the back pocket with the ammo spawn on top of it. That's it. That's the strategy. For the Blood Harvest farmhouse, there is no military snipers, so it's just laser AKs holding out inside on the 2nd floor. This is the Goldminers visual we were following. This was also one that can be lapped. After we all died around the 11:30 mark, JR got some laps in and squeezed several extra minutes out for us. The sacrifice train car is pretty crazy because it's such a crazy small area, like you're just going to get flanked from basically every direction. They also break a rule by having a tank to start the whole thing, unlike the other maps where you wait 40 seconds, but loyal to the other game modes. Ultimately, the ammo and weapons are all so close to each other, but we were favoring this side of the fence over here on top of the boats because the infected can't come from directly behind the chain link fence. The sacrifice barge was funny because I thought I was being slick when I just chilled out on this ladder, and even the tank was glitched out underneath for a bit. Surely nothing could go wrong.
Oh no, dude,
But ultimately, you just hold out at the top of this ramp from this truck. There's an ammo spawn a bit to your left inside, and there's a SCAR spawn to your right. We've covered the passing port, but there is also the sacrifice port as well, which is pretty funny. This one is a bit more of an elaborate setup, but it's ultimately just holding out and protecting the pool tables. One player can hold this back corner with the door and look outside this door. We had 2 players on this sledge looking down over the stairs. Everyone involved had AK-47s with laser sights. There is an ammo spawn just underneath everyone. Also an M16 spawn if that's important in the moment. The Last Stand Junkyard is actually pretty unique given that it's a holdout you use SMGs and not assault rifles. There's this far back corner down here where you can throw all of your gas cans and then stand on top of the SMG spawn, just firing ahead at all of the infected coming from one flank. Just hold M1. The Lighthouse was my final survival map for the gold medal, and it was a legitimately pretty hard one, but also my favorite because it was really fun. The holdout is just having people using AKs and laser sights to hold out across this high platform, ultimately making sure all zombies stay underneath. There are 2 poles specifically for people to look out for and to make sure that they don't get pulled down. After failing a few times, it was brought to our attention that we needed to prioritize making sure that the tank never got up top. So once the tank appeared down low, as many people as possible tried to focus it down. Tanks coming up to the survival holdout sucks for all the reasons you'd expect, but the punches are also insta-kills on this map. Alright, let's take a gander at these Left 4 Dead 1 Golden Crowbar locations. No Mercy generator room, it's up in the pipes above the weapon spawn. Gas station, climb up this truck and look at this roof. Hospital, it's in this far back closet and on top of the shelf. No Mercy rooftop, you just gotta do this here, adrenaline if it's too hard for you, and look over the sledge. Crash Course Bridge, it is behind the toll booth. Truck Depot, it is between this bus and the wall.
Check this out. Nice.
Death Toll Drains, it is tucked away up in here underneath this pipe. In the church, stand on the piano and look into this little balcony thing here. In the Death Toll Street, it's on top of this movie theater booth. Death Toll Boathouse, stand up on this rock and look in the tree. Dead Air Crane, it's inside this burning barrel.
Hang on. Well, hell, almost. Look at this. Thank you. Sure. Somebody.
Construction site, it's just subtly behind this particular pillar here next to the weapon and ammo spawns on the ground. Dead Air Terminal, it's on top of the urinal in the boys' bathroom. If you are a woman, you will have to do what I did with my friend Achievement, close your eyes, and then have a male teammate instruct you on where to go so you can pick it up without violating the privacy of the male occupants. Dead Air Runway, run back to where the one-way drop after the safe house is, and it'll be up on that ledge. Blood Harvest Warehouse, you'll have to do a teensy bit of parkour, but once you jump down onto this crate, the crowbar is behind these pipes. Blood Harvest Bridge, it's just behind this train car in plain view. This is a reference to a Left 4 Dead 1 bug where you could use this area to get under the map. Farmhouse, it's behind this red barn and hidden within the logs. Sacrifice train car, you just gotta put on your running shoes, do a little bit of stretching, hop up onto this boat by the 5 chainsaws, and then do a nice big jump to grab it from the fire escape. Sacrifice barge, it's up the ramp and around these little electrical cables here, you gotta do a jump. Sacrifice port, you gotta parkour your way up the scaffold by this far generator, and then jump over and do a big jump. Last Stand Junkyard, you see this big crane here? Well, this nearby red container, run into the tree, and there she is in the rock. And finally, in the Last Stand Lighthouse, you go up the spiral staircase, you take a leap of faith towards this final window, and you have acquired all of the golden crowbars. But you may still not have the achievement. Sometimes there's some server maintenance or something that occurs on like Tuesday evenings or so. So if you work towards an achievement during that time, it may not update. So you'll just have to go in and reload the map sometimes to get it to refresh and give you your achievement. So that's everything we've got on the survival game mode without going majorly in depth on each holdout map. I want to give a shout out and thank you to League from the Goldminers and Survivalist JR for helping me out with this video. Also, of course, a shout out to the Goldminers as a whole for their tireless work on maintaining their leaderboards and guide. If you don't know who the Goldminers are, they are a dedicated survival community who are still active to this day. They host servers which have some plugins like teleport all the gas cans on the map to X area to save you that bit of trouble. They also still manually review people's world record submissions to ensure that there isn't any unfair play or bugs being exploited. Someone can technically hold the world record through exploits, but Goldminers are passionate about the honor and integrity of the game mode, so they lay out their criteria for what makes a run legitimate and recognize what they believe is the proper world records for each map, in each category from solos to full team. When people say a world record in the survival world, they usually refer to the Goldminers' accepted term of what a world record is. Of course, there are a lot of people who played survival alongside Flame and I during this little adventure, so if you played, you know who you are, and thank you. But I want to go out of my way again to say thank you to League and JR for helping out with this video, as well as Cannon or Tommy G in the chats for telling us where he was holding out for his golds. And ultimately, a thank you to our friend Flame, who was there and learning survival alongside me on every single map. Now, if only someone can tell him that it's a team game and not a competition to see who can kill the most infected on each campaign chapter, that would be splendid. Thanks again for watching. Of course, the whole YouTube world runaround. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you enjoy these videos. A lot of viewers aren't subscribed, yada, yada, yada. I'll see you guys in the future with some more Left 4 Dead 2 content and streams. Peace.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, I didn't mean to
I saw that. I saw that. I saw that. I saw that.
No, you didn't.
I saw that.
No, you didn't.
The whole stream saw it.